Probably, I'd say.
On this computer, I believe.
Oh, okay.
All right, we're recording, so there we have it. I would say every single person that sees this video probably is going to know one of us, but my name is Ben Doyle. The man to my left, I'm assuming it's going to come up this way on YouTube, is Neil Vorster. One of my best boys, currently based in New York, locked down in his new apartment. I'm in Dublin.
Still social distancing, not locked down yet.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Fucking Trump.
We're in lockdown here in Dublin. You know, our lockdown got extended for 3 weeks this morning, or not this morning, like 3 o'clock.
Yeah, I saw that. I just don't expect to leave the apartment anytime soon, but yeah.
At least you've got a new apartment. We're both lucky. You have a new apartment, I have a new house, so.
You're a little luckier than I am.
Worse off, yeah. And I have a puppy, so we have plenty on our hands. I'm certainly enjoying the long weekend. So thank you for everyone who has checked out the YouTube channel so far. Obviously, we're just getting started. Please don't come into watching these videos with any sort of high expectations. We're just going to chat shit and probably talk about some fights. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So I'm Ben from Dublin, I'm living in Dublin. I'm from Kildare, which is just outside Dublin. Neil, you're a bit of a cocktail. I'll let you try and explain where the hell you're from.
Yeah, I'm a mutt. I'm South African born, grew up in Ireland, met him about 7 years ago. He showed me Chan Sung Young versus the Korean Zombie, and here we are. Now we're on a fucking MMA podcast. So yeah, that's about it for me. I don't want to bore anyone else with our background, so let's get into it.
Okay. Well, look, obviously the obvious news is we spoke yesterday or the day before.
Yesterday, yeah, it was like what 6-7 o'clock yesterday. 2:49 got cancelled.
Yeah, so we were all prepped to do our first episode on breaking down the fights next weekend, but you know the fight's been cancelled, so or postponed at least. But I'm assuming that card won't be put back together. Something I want to mention that was flying under the radar is Rose Namajunas, the ex-champion who was scheduled to fight in the co-main event. She lost 2 family members apparently due to coronavirus.
Dude, that's insane. Like the first thing that I did was like tweet about it and like give her shit. And yeah, I was like, Rose has pulled out in another fight. You know, another news, water is wet type thing. It wasn't like I was giving her abuse or anything, but you know, everyone was like, she's soft, she's this. MMA Twitter like blew up about it, and yeah, it's pretty grim, isn't it? Fucking 2 family members to it. Yeah, it's insane. So,
but if you think about it as well, if she had 2 family members test positive, it's quite likely that she would have seen them, and perhaps she is also testing positive, or at least assumes she might have it. So that could be an additional reason if you think about it. But shit situation. Sorry to hear that, Rose. Not that you're going to hear this video.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, that's awful. Like she's seems to be a pretty good woman. So yeah, it's it makes it even worse, particularly with all the shit that she got before anyone even knew why she had pulled out. So apologies. Yeah.
MMA fans are ruthless. We don't wait around for reasons. We just abuse. Yeah. That's the way we are. So, but so that's pretty horrendous. But I think the obvious thing is to just rebook that fight whenever this kind of lifts. I think that's fairly obvious. I don't think Weili Zhang is fighting anytime soon. And I think if and when she is returning for the fight, she probably fights Joanna Jędrzejczyk. Joanna.
They've got to run that back, and Rose definitely needs to fight and get that monkey off her back. That slam fucked her up. Now, how long was she out for after that? You know, that really fucked her up mentally. So
she got something bad in her neck, I think. So. Well,
there was that, but it's, you know, I think there was a large part of that was the mental. Like, fuck, could you imagine getting picked up and slammed on your head?
Yeah, you do.
I wouldn't want to fight anytime soon either. Could you imagine that? Like. Yeah, that's so. I think she got to. I mean, she was winning that fight comfortably. You know, Andrade, like, she's good, but I think Rose is on a much different level to her, and she showed it that fight until she got knocked out via a fucking.
Do you know where Rose Namajunas trains? I know she's with Trevor Whitman, but do you know where in the country that is? Just in case it's the same. Where they're based.
Yeah, I don't know. Is she in California? I thought she was West Coast.
I don't think so. But it's I'm just curious because obviously coronavirus is really bad in New York, but I know I'm almost sure they're not in New York. But where else in the States is it bad at the moment? Coronavirus wise, I know California apparently is okay, right? They've kind of got ahead of it.
California was where it kind of initially broke out, and then New York, there was like 50 cases like a week and a half ago, and now there's close to 100,000. So it's
It was 25,000 in a day, right, the other day.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's what happens. There's no testing initially, and then there's just this big, burst of it. So, I don't see anything changing anytime soon. However, apparently, I read something today saying that there was a drop in people being sent to ICU for the first time since this all started. So that's somewhat positive, I suppose.
Yeah.
What's it like in Ireland right now?
There's a serious backlog in testing apparently. So I heard of a couple of people that have been tested and it was more than 2 weeks before they got the results. So they just self-isolated, and then 2 weeks later they got sick and then they got better, or they didn't feel too much worse than they were when they sent off the test or whatever. But they still haven't got the results. So that kind of scares me because it shows that the results that have been released to the public probably not accurate at all if there's a 2 week backlog. But it's not too bad. It's I think we've contained it better than the likes of Italy and Spain, thankfully. But it's a blow to the economy, and obviously we're all in home prison, nice home prison. Like the weather's good, we're allowed to walk around 2 kilometers from the house and all, but can't go any further than that. So we're kind of in whatever that, like, house arrest to an extent,
and here's Dana fucking islands for fight cards. What a maniac that man is! Like, fucking hell, that card I was so excited as well. Like I was skeptical from the minute it got booked. I was, we chatted about it the other day. It's like, are they gonna, are some of these fighters gonna test positive? Like, they're all gonna have to get tested. There's obviously every MMA fan was excited for it, or at least most were, but like, how's it going to be seen, in society? Like, everything's on shut down. There's no sports being played. And then Dana's like, we'll just get an island and we'll let them all fight there, like sweat all over each other with a deadly virus going around.
Well, I think the island is still a go. Apparently, that's still the plan. Apparently, it's just
but I mean, if he's getting told by like the big boys in ESPN and Disney, like, you're not putting on a card, like that's not happening anytime soon. So I mean, he can have it all he wants. Like, maybe if there's a war in like 10 years or whatever, and he's got the island, then great, you can still book fights. he's not booking fights with the big dogs in Disney and ESPN saying he can't.
Dana White doesn't give a fuck, and I absolutely love him.
I'm not. You're not getting an opinion. I plead the fifth on Dana White.
Well, you gotta respect him at least, right? Even if you hate him.
Yeah.
The man has got a bull-sized sack on him. He just plows forward and he doesn't give a fuck. I'm a big fan of him. Well, obviously, so the fights are postponed indefinitely, but Dana still reckons they're going to be one of the first sports back, which kind of does make sense because you can keep the crowds very small when you don't have an audience. Another one obviously is golf. Golf should be back around the same time because you can walk around the field far away from each other. You don't need to be on top of each other playing golf. But he's determined to come back quick. But when do you realistically think that we're next going to see a live fight, crowd or no crowd?
Fuck yeah, that's a good question. I personally think none of the shit is gonna be in any way getting back to normal by like. I think it's gonna eat away most of summer. I would be like happy with mid-August, like early September type time, to get back to we can leave the apartment whenever we want. Like, we can go to a restaurant. We can go to a bar, like shit like that. I think that's how long it'll take. It's
gonna be hard to shake the paranoia, though. You know what I mean? When I go to the shop now, I'm fucking freaking out. I'm holding my breath when I'm queuing up and everything.
which makes it even more ridiculous that fucking 249 was still put on. You know what I mean? Like we're just casually walking around, and we're freaked out if we see people, and then they're like, oh yeah, just Tony, go and fight Gaethje and hope he doesn't get on top of you sweating and bleeding in your mouth. Like it's ridiculous.
Joe Rogan, well, he was like, Tony Ferguson's fighting, there's gonna be blood.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. That would have been chaos.
If there's no fights until August, man, that seriously puts the UFC in financial pressure, but it also just really fucks the calendar. I mean, what do you then do? Who do you book first? How do you keep some of these fighters from being completely belly up financially? Obviously, the UFC isn't a fucking charity. It's not paying fighters for not fighting for the next, what would that be? The next 4 months. You know what I mean? That'd be horrendous. That'd be a serious blow. Plus, like, you got to think about Daniel Cormier, 41. I'm pretty sure just 41.
Oh yeah.
4 months. He's getting older and older, and he's fighting a younger Stipe if and when that fight happens. So the longer he waits, the less it's in his favor. Same with Tony Ferguson, man. Tony Ferguson's 36. So one of these fights now, he's going to get cracked, and his age is going to come to light via his chin, I think.
But the thing is, though, how many times has Tony been dropped over his last number of fights? I mean, like, think of that Venata fight. He got dropped how many times, and then he ended up winning in ridiculous fashion. Like, that's just he's just textbook. Like, there's nothing ordinary about that man. He's just a weirdo. Like, he's a freak. Like, what's wrong with him?
Yeah.
Like, seriously, I want to just off. Have you seen this, Sean?
MMA on Point had a brilliant video of him. Just yesterday, it was like 10 facts about Tony Ferguson. Shout out to MMA on Point. It's a fucking incredible YouTube channel. I'm an absolutely massive fan of it. But they had like 10 facts about Tony Ferguson, and they were talking about when he was like rooting up his house last year, looking for magic doors, and he was convinced that someone had put a microchip into his leg during his knee surgery, and then he was throwing holy water on his wife. Like, that's the level of fucking madness that contest.
Man, it's like, yeah. And remember when the reporter was like talking to him in the crowd, and he's like, good for you for getting over your, all the mental issues and things like that. Yeah. He's just like, fuck you. Shit. He's just a psycho. But yeah, I mean,
next question.
Yeah, he's just not normal. But then neither is Justin. Justin's like, he's a bit of like a somewhat intelligent redneck that just likes being punched in the face and likes punching people and kicking people. And I wish he wrestled a little bit more, seriously, even just to throw it in there. Like, he's still so dangerous on the feet, but why not just mix it up a little bit? Why not keep people guessing? Like, he's a Division I wrestler. Like, I don't get it. It's like Khabib wrestling. What?
If it's not broke, don't fix it. Like, if Justin Gaethje started wrestling now, it would be like, his fights wouldn't be half as exciting. Like, he's an absolute diamond of MMA right now. We should just appreciate him.
Yeah,
he is. Like, those fights with Dustin Poirier, speaking of the diamond, just gems. The fight with Michael Johnson, gem. Eddie Alvarez, gem. Like, every fight. James Vick, Edson Barboza, him and Tony Ferguson would just have been. Do you remember Beyblades? You know those things you fucking
yeah.
And they used to go in and just. That'd be like Justin Gaethje, Tony Ferguson coming together. It's chaos, just absolute chaos.
Oh, fucking hell! And I mean, I still had Tony though. I thought Gaethje would probably hurt him a couple of times, probably wobble him, but you saw with Dustin, like, Gaethje got rocked that time, and he just could not, like, the wheels came off completely. He was so wobbly, and like, Tony's got every opportunity to do that to him as well. That unorthodox type. I don't know. Tony's just different. I had Tony in the third or fourth. I think the pressure would have got to Gaethje, but they're when you think about it though, they're very, very similar, except Gaethje's a little bit more orthodox. That's all it really is. But they fight almost identically to each other. Both got endless gas tanks. Like, it's just, that would have been. I was more excited for that than I was for Khabib and Tony. Genuinely, to watch it as a fan. I wasn't not for the context and, like, the amount of times we've had Tony and Khabib booked, but there was always the possibility that Khabib and Tony went the same way as all of Khabib's fights.
Yeah.
And that was, with Gaethje and Tony, it's just like, there's no way this is going to be anything but a bloodbath, so yeah.
Lightweight is fucking stacking right now, man. Poirier there, McGregor there, Hooker there, Felder there, like the top half of the top 15 at lightweight is just ferocious. And
Charles Oliveira as well.
Charles Oliveira in the mix there. He looked nasty there against Kevin Lee.
Yeah. But then, I mean, you've even got people like, Kevin Lee, who could beat anyone on his day. Like, well, I don't know what it is about him, but like he's got the skills to beat anyone on his day. But you got Gregor Gillespie as well, who he just violently fucking knocked into oblivion. And like before that, he was an undefeated fighter, and everyone was like, "This is the next big thing in the division," So you forget about even like at lightweight, like guys that are in 10 and 11. It's just ridiculous division.
Yeah. So what's your deal anyway? You just got a new puppy and a new apartment and a new job. You got some serious news going on in the life of Vorser outside of MMA.
There's a lot going on, but I want to concentrate. I'm going to quit my day job for this podcast once we get going. Once we start seeing some views coming in. The new puppy is asleep underneath my feet right now. I'm looking forward to watching some violence with him.
I can't have the dogs in here while I'm doing this because they snore too loud. All you can hear is snoring. Yeah, both of them, and they're only about this size.
Yeah, that'll be fun when I get to watch my first fight card with him. We're gonna both be barking at the TV, beating my chest.
Yeah, he's he looks cool, man. But he's fairly sleepy, is he? He's usually panned out for most of the day.
Yeah, he's
As you want.
And then he gets a bit of energy a couple of times a day, and it's like, where the fuck did this come from? He's been like napping and whatever. Have you had any chance to roll recently?
No. Well, I mean, every jiu-jitsu gym is closed now, but I would have. When was the last time I rolled? I was. I would have moved out of Eastwall in November, so the last time I would have been in 10 Planet was November, I'd say. Because as soon as I left, there's a couple of gyms around here, but I haven't joined anything. Plus, they're all closed at the moment anyway. So, I'd like to try and find an MMA gym though. I'd like to do jiu-jitsu and go back to Muay Thai if I can.
Yeah.
Just from a fitness perspective alone, I just like to mix it up and do them both. But I don't know when the hell gyms are going to be open, man. They're probably going to be one of the last things to reopen in the middle of all this. And I'd say a lot of the jiu-jitsu gyms, especially in Ireland, given the state of jiu-jitsu in being in a very early phase here from a country comparatively to the US or whatever.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say there's amazing cash flow behind most jiu-jitsu gyms in Ireland. So hopefully we don't see a few of them going belly up, but we might. So after the dust settles, I'll see what's left. I'll see what's open and hopefully pick something up. But, God knows when that's going to be. God knows. Hopefully soon. But that could be a while from now. So but the odd man out anyway at lightweight is Dustin Poirier. What do you do here? If we get fights again in like June, do the UFC just book Ferguson Gaethje again? Because Khabib said he wouldn't fight until late July, early August. And if they do, can they still do it for an interim lightweight title, considering Khabib will be back 1 month later? It's a bit of a I don't know. I mean, it's got to be Tony Khabib again, is it, in August? And then you put Gaethje against McGregor, is it? I suppose a lot depends on the time, but what do you?
That would be my hope. I mean, the fight that most MMA fans want to see is Tony and Khabib. It'll be like the 6th time booking it though. I feel like Dana might be the type of guy that's just like, this is ridiculous. Like, I'm not even trying to book this.
No, he said he would. Again. He's already on record saying, fuck it, we'll book it again. It's no one's fault.
Things that he ends up doing the complete opposite. So I'll believe it when I see it. But yeah, I would hope for that. McGregor shouldn't be getting a title shot after beating Cerrone. Like that's, you can't come back after getting whooped by the champion. And what happens differently in that fight? That's my question. Do you know what I mean? Is an elite striker McGregor, that is, like what can he do differently? He can't, unless he knocks him out in the first round.
His foot was a balloon, Fuzzy. That's what's going to be different.
What'd you say?
Balloon foot. No, not really. There's going to be no difference. I think if that fight happens 10 times, Khabib wins at least 9 out of 10 of those times. Yeah, I think it's just a horrendous stylistic matchup for him. Ferguson has a far better chance against Khabib than McGregor does, or ever will. And Gaethje has a better chance against Khabib than McGregor does. But McGregor has a good chance against Ferguson or Gaethje should they beat Khabib. This is the beauty of MMA. So it's a good time to be alive, man. You can almost say this every single month on about MMA for the last 10 years. It's the best time to be an MMA fan. Although now with all the fights on pause, it probably isn't. But
big time. But yeah, I feel like what you said there. Getting back to your point, McGregor Khabib goes the exact same way, in my opinion. It doesn't matter. I don't care how he didn't look himself in the first Khabib and McGregor fight. He just didn't. Like there was definitely something, I don't know, was it just pure ego at that point? But like you could see he hadn't trained the same way. He didn't look as sharp. And like he had a couple of decent moments. Like he didn't do as bad. He actually didn't do as badly as I thought. I genuinely thought Khabib would take him down, maul him in the first round, and just get him into a position where the ref had to stop it without really doing a huge amount of damage. That's what I really thought was going to happen. So the fact that he went 4 rounds with him probably somewhat plays to his advantage. But yeah, I think you're right. I think 9 out of 10 times he wins that. But then I think McGregor would probably finish Tony and Gaethje within 2. But if not, he is in for a terrible, terrible, terrible time.
Yeah,
they'll do what Diaz did to him, and they hit way hard. Well, maybe not. Tony probably doesn't hit as hard, but Gaethje hits way harder than Diaz, and Tony will just
definitely.
Yeah, I mean,
way harder, but he has more knockouts.
Look, yeah, definitely, but I feel somewhat similar. They're pressure strikers as opposed to like Gaethje fucking puts the lights out. But yeah, it's a great time to be an MMA fan, isn't it?
What do you do at light heavyweight? John Jones obviously recently arrested with weed on his lap, Masvidal's tequila in the back, shooting his handgun out the window of his what do you call those trucks? Those big American Escalade, shooting his handgun out the window of his Escalade at a cactus in the middle of Albuquerque, New Mexico. So.
Just I can hear a Team America in the background. America, fuck yeah.
He doesn't give a fuck.
But
he's probably accepted a title. So then, what do you? Well, is he? Is the first question, I suppose. And if he is getting stripped of the title, is it then Santos versus Reyes for the interim belt, or no? I suppose if he gets stripped of the title, it wouldn't be for the interim belt. It'd be for the legitimate.
Yeah. So. I'm almost at a point where I feel sorry for John Jones. There was so much of this initially. I was like, fuck this guy, he's a scumbag. But now it's got to a point where he seems to have like real, alcohol abuse. Definitely. I mean, it was obviously coke and the rest earlier on in his career, but he seems to have a genuine issue with alcohol. And it's easy for us to sit behind a laptop being like, fuck this guy, he keeps doing this, but I'm sure most people know, like for me, I have like 3-4 drinks and I'm either like the nicest guy on the planet or I'm a fucking aggressive scumbag. You know what I mean? And like, I wouldn't say scumbag, but I'm liable to wreak havoc.
I definitely say scumbag.
but seriously, you know what I mean? Like that. So that's a regular person, and it's not like I've ever got in trouble or done anything like John Jones has, but it could be for him. He has 2 drinks and just completely loses the run of himself because correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think he's gotten into any trouble while sober. It seems like every single time he's been on some sort of substance. So
Yeah,
in which
that's
case
pretty much true. Yeah, that's pretty true.
in which
Obviously
case
the coke, the positive cocaine test. He was sober when he did that test. I suppose that's gonna.
But I mean, that
yeah,
stays in
but
your
again,
system. So
that's him testing not sober,
yeah,
basically. So
yeah. So
right.
yeah, that's what I mean. So, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I feel sorry for the guy, but I think it's sad. I think it's such a huge waste of talent. But I mean, that said, since he's come back
Well, he
after,
got off pretty easy. I think it's done. He's like paid his bail or posted bail or.
yeah, he's got community service or something.
You what?
He's
Community
got,
service. Let me have a look here. I'll have a quick look at John Jones' situation in the news. Mike Winklejohn believes it's time for John Jones to take the big fights and go up to heavyweight. That was yesterday. So there you go. So that probably means it's not likely that he's going to be on a ban or lose his title. If his coach is talking about him taking fights yesterday. So I thought he kind of got off easy enough. He didn't get
yeah,
it.
no, he definitely did. But yeah, I mean, I would love to see him go up to heavyweight, but it's kind of, at the point that you made earlier, it was, that really fucked me up because I'm thinking like DC, if this keeps going, there's no fights for another 6 months. Like he would have to have been training for that amount of time, which is very, very difficult given the current circumstances.
Yeah.
And, even in 6 months time at his age, like how much is that going to affect him? And Stipe is a fucking, Stipe is a beast. So it's not like he can, it's not like he can be halfway prepared for that.
Shout out to Andrew Bertel calling me. Sorry, I meant to put my phone on silent.
But yeah, I mean, it's worrying for DC. It really is. And like, if John Jones goes up to heavyweight, I want to see that fight. I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah. He's a fucking criminal. So, hey. Dominic Cruz in to fight Henry Cejudo.
Yeah.
I think that's a really tough fight for Henry Cejudo. Cruz is so long, and he's got an incredible defensive wrestling game, and he's very fast.
It's 2.5 years since he last fought, though.
I know that, but the last time he had a big long layoff and came back, he knocked out Takeo Mizugaki in 90 seconds or something.
Yeah, I mean, look, he looked great, and he's obviously very, very mentally tough, in that aspect. I remember watching an interview of his, and he was like, what's ring rust? What is that? He was like, I'm just getting in the cage at an additional time. He's like, if anything, it's just more experience that I'm adding. And just his mindset and how he looks at things is absurd. But yeah, it's a good fight. It's a good fight. I mean, I was really fucking annoyed with the making Aldo and Cejudo. Even though I thought Aldo won. He beat, what's his name? Moraes. Yeah, sorry, slipped my mind. Yeah, so I think Aldo won that fight. Think he looked really good, like handled the weight cut so well. So it was weird. You can't call somebody out who just lost the fight, particularly with Aljo and Yan. Yeah, like that's.
Cejudo can do what the fuck he wants, as he has been. Sorry, I'm struggling with the hiccups here of all times to get the fucking hiccups. I've got the hiccups once in about the last 8 months. Decided to record a podcast. Hiccups. 2020. Oh. Anyway. So.
Good, bro.
I think so. I'm not sure. I'm just looking at Dominic Cruz and Henry Cejudo is set for UFC 250. I don't know when that is or when that was supposed to be though. Do you?
Nah, I mean
May 9th. Yeah, that's already on hold, and that's already confirmed to be on hold. So
yeah, so this is what I mean. Like from the minute they announced 249, I was skeptical because it's not it's not just the UFC anymore. Do you know what I mean? They're essentially they're like an umbrella company now. Do you know what I mean? They're not their own entity who can make these decisions themselves.
Yeah,
with what's going on. Like,
they have a
you know,
parent company.
yeah, exactly. So,
And, well, like they kind of have a parent company and like two partners. It's kind of like a group of companies working in unison. It's ESPN, WMG, IMG, and the UFC. You know, that kind of way. And Disney, obviously. Disney own
yeah.
ESPN. Is that right? That's how I'm understanding this.
Say that again.
Disney own ESPN.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, it's kind of like a three-way group of companies that work in unison. But
Three-way, huh?
Fascinated by the UFC's business model. Say that again.
Three-way, huh?
Three-way, bro. Yeah. Dana White, Ari Safir, is that his name? And then God knows who runs ESPN. ESPN doesn't really have a business face like the UFC does in Dana White. But so come here. Have you slightly off MMA topic? Have you been watching any decent shit on Netflix? I'm assuming you've seen Tiger King and all that sort of crap.
Oh yeah, that's a fucking wild shit, isn't it?
That's a crazy watch. Yeah, that's a crazy watch. There's a new series up there called How to Fix a Drug Scandal or something like that. It looks really good. I think it's about a woman that was working in a lab testing narcotics that was confiscated by the guards or by the police, sorry, in America. And then she just kept nicking all the drugs and taking them herself and replacing the drugs with fake drugs. So, of course. So, but it's a Netflix. I think it's a Netflix original. So I'm gonna get that watched. I think I'm gonna start that tonight. Looks like a bit of crack.
Have you seen The Witcher?
Yeah, I have seen The Witcher. Do you know what
like it?
I thought that I can't remember your man's name. The main fella, I can't remember his character name or his actual name. But I thought he looked like James Mackey.
A bit, yeah.
Handsome rip bastard with a sword.
I mean, yeah, that's a fucking. Is he plays Superman or whatever? So that's a serious compliment to Jackie.
Yeah, I know. I was chatting to Jackie today. Actually, sent him over the YouTube channel, and he was saying he always thought we'd be good at podcast. So shout out to James Mackey. So brother.
Anyway, yeah, Tiger King. That made me feel like Tony and Edson did. You know when the thing came up in between rounds, and it's like what you're about to see may upset some viewers or something like that. It was that fucking violent. It was that uncomfortable. Yeah, that's how Tiger King made me feel. Every 30 seconds, I was like, "What the fuck is going on?"
That was said in Texas, wasn't it?
What'd you say?
In Texas, right? Tiger King.
No, Utah or something, wasn't
Alabama or something, was he? Oh yeah, because he ran for state president, wasn't or state? He ran in the state election or something like that. I don't think it was Texas actually.
I know who was it in Florida? Who was that? Was that the crazy?
That was the guy with the loads of wives.
Oh yeah, he was weird, wasn't he? I can't remember. It's like 2 weeks since I watched it. Yeah, I just remember being absolutely baffled. Watching Ozark now.
I'm starting Ozark tonight, I think.
Really good.
We've watched both of those series for season 1, season 2. They were unbelievable. So I'm gonna watch that. But what happens is we hit the couch and we start watching, and then Hayani passes out, and then I flick on something that I'm watching. So I'm always watching 2 series in unison. One when she's awake, and then one when she's asleep. So.
Yeah, it's the other way around.
We're usually watching some dark murderous shit, and Hayani falls asleep.
It's the other way around with Sam and I. I fall asleep on the couch. But anyway, fucking, you mentioned the lightweight division. So and light heavyweight actually, but heavyweight, like what's gonna happen? Because seriously, that point that you made about DC, I'm coming back to it in my mind, because I'm like, shit, like, if this goes on for another, this could go on for another 9 months, in which case, like, is DC ready to fight for a title immediately? I don't think he is. I mean, Stipe is going to be, but, we had Ngannou and Rosenstruck booked. I think Ngannou would, I had Ngannou winning that quite comfortably. I thought that was way too big of a jump for Rosenstruck. Yeah, I mean, he knocked Overeem out.
Rosenstruck
but
is faster. That's the only thing about that fight. Rosenstruck is.
Do you think? I don't know. I mean,
he's a bit quicker. He's a bit quicker in and out. But because he's smaller, he's always going to be, at least in theory, a little bit quicker if he's smaller.
Yeah, Ngannou's got a big reach on him, and Ngannou's looked very, very good again since that Lewis fight.
Seen any of Ngannou's home workouts, by the way?
Oh, it's terrifying. It's terrifying.
All of us are terrifying at the exact same time.
That
Yeah,
man
that just
is.
goes to show what what kind of emotions that man evokes in small, puny, white males like ourselves when we look at him. He's an absolute monster.
Yeah, he's an absolute animal. But I can't remember. Someone was holding pads for him in his gym, and it was like a bantamweight holding pads, and he threw a leg kick, and I can't remember. I'm pretty sure it's a current UFC fighter that was holding the pads for him, and he went 3 meters, like literally came off his feet flying. It looked like a cartoon. That's how much power that man has. So yeah, I just think Ngannou's better, to be honest. I like Rosenstruck, before beating Overeem, who was winning that fight comfortably, before
Yeah,
getting knocked out.
but let it be known, Overeem fought a brilliant fight.
Yeah, no, Overeem was
fought off the jab, and Overeem's a top kickboxer, And Ngannou's
Yeah.
not going to do that. He's just not going to fight him like that. He's not that good of a kickboxer. I know Ngannou knocked Overeem out, but Overeem is a better kickboxer.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, you all know how Ngannou's going to win his fights, and if he touches the chin, cleanly, like you're going out. It doesn't. And that's the thing about these heavyweights as well, though. It's like, I'm saying I would heavily favor Ngannou, but Rosenstruck could touch him on the chin, and you might see Ngannou go out for the first time. It's impossible to predict the heavyweights. That being said, though, I think Stipe is by far the best heavyweight in that division.
I just don't think so. I think Daniel Cormier is easily the best heavyweight. He just didn't wrestle in the last fight. I think if you look at Cormier round 1, round 2, and for some reason he stood, if Cormier doesn't stand or hits a takedown in the third of that fight, he's champion, and he's by far the best heavyweight. Like, without a doubt. He was dominating Stipe.
Nah. You cannot say that he's far better than Stipe. I'm sorry. What about
Daniel Cormier was out wrestling and outboxing Stipe by a fucking mile in their last fight. By a mile. He was lightning. Stipe came back in the fourth, and it was the comeback of the year. Well, maybe not, but it was a serious comeback.
I gotta watch it again. I remember it being a little bit closer than what you're making out.
It was close-ish, but Cormier won every round until he got down.
Yeah, I mean, that's similar to how I remember it, but I mean, Stipe found his opening, capitalized, and finished him quickly. That was that, and he was always hanging in there. You know what I mean? Like there was no part of me that was watching that fight being like, Stipe can't win this fight, or there's no shot he beats DC. No part of me was
thinking, in the rematch. Well, depending when it happens, if we're waiting 9 months, Cormier's gonna be nearly 42. Yeah. Not that he's really shown his age, but eventually it's gonna catch up with you. So. Cormier may lose the third fight due to age, which is actually kind of indirectly due to coronavirus, because if it wasn't for coronavirus, I'm assuming this fight would happen earlier, that kind of way. So it's like crazy the amount of potential negative effects this thing is happening on everything, obviously, but for us specifically in MMA, in Cormier is probably a good example, because obviously he's right at the end of his career and he wants one more fight, but he's not. He does not have time on his side.
Yeah, Cormier, that's you fucking ruined me with that one. Seriously, that's like been. I'm like, fuck, right? Is he gonna have to?
He's cooking. He's heading towards his sell-by date. We don't know what that is, but he's heading towards it. This isn't helping. Definitely not. So.
You think we could see Askren come back?
No.
No, you think he's done?
No. Don't think so. I think he's done. Yeah.
I would have liked to have seen him.
I would have loved to see him. I would have loved to see him do. I would have loved to see him do 4 or 5 more fights. But in fairness, he does sound like he has a very bad hip.
Yeah.
And my dad has had 2 hip replacements. They put you in very bad shape. And like he can't ever. He's too old really to be running now anyway. But he couldn't run after his hip replacement. So.
But isn't he getting like a hip replacement, or he's getting something?
That's what I mean, bro. When you get a hip replacement, like I'm not sure it's like a guarantee that you can run again. That kind of way. So if he can't run, how's he going to wrestle? He can't wrestle. Then what the fuck's he going to do in the cage? Because without his wrestling, he's basically you or me. No, not quite. That's probably very harsh. But he's not exactly a fucking kickboxing great, is he? Or he needs that wrestling.
We know his stand up is far from elite, but Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things. Well, I mean, wrestling, you know, it's obviously not something at all in, you know, most of Europe, really. You know, wrestling's such an American and Canadian thing.
Ukraine, Russia, like Moldova, those kind of Soviet countries have serious Olympic wrestling teams. But
Yeah,
it's not
yeah.
in school there like it is in the US. So yeah, the US has
Um,
a serious advantage with that.
where's Mashar Bektik from? Because he's a pretty good wrestler, isn't he? He's from like
Um,
Serbia or something like that, isn't it?
Marsad Bektik is give me a second.
Montenegro or something
American
like that.
Bosnian, it says. American
What?
Bosnian. Srebrenica, Bosnia, and Herzegovina.
All
Yeah.
right, don't dislocate your brain over there, bro. It's
Reading
all,
things out, given that I'm dyslexic.
um,
Yeah, he's a fucking. But Bosnia, yeah, same thing. So, like kind of Serbian. You know, we can only assume that he's, you know, yeah, he was. I don't know. He grew up somewhere near Chernobyl. He got some of that Chernobyl acid juice in him, and he looks like a god. The body on him here.
yeah,
But,
he's
who did he fight recently? He had a fight recently enough.
yeah,
I don't
I'm
think
sure.
he won it. I don't think he won his last fight. I can't remember. Did we not watch him?
It was a decision. It was a recent fight too. I'm almost sure.
Split decision.
Was it on the? It was on the Izzy and Romero card, wasn't it?
Johnson Reyes.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, what were we saying? We were talking about the Askren. Yeah, I really would have loved to have seen, you know, because, you know, obviously the Robbie Lawler, that was obviously very, very controversial. Looked like he went out as well, you know, after Robbie slammed him like that, you know, and followed up with the ground and pound. Like it looked as if he actually went out for a second. But, I mean, I think he came back from that very, very well, considering he'd never really taken any damage in his MMA career prior to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Masvidal, like,
it was terrifying in that fight.
What'd you say?
Robbie Lawler was terrifying in that fight. He just had a smell of violence of him.
I would just love to. Yeah, man. He really. He's pretty much the only person that Askren didn't call out when he came to the UFC, and then he got that fight, and then almost took his head clean off in the first round. But then, you know, like Masvidal, that's, you know, there's no element of luck to it, but there was an element of luck to it. You know what I mean? Like, Masvidal knew exactly what he was doing. He went in with a game plan to finish it very, very quickly. Played out for him.
There was still a lot of luck involved for, you know, he could have thrown that knee and missed by an inch.
I was going to say, or hit a shoulder, you know what I mean? And the fight goes on, you know. But, I mean, look, so clean. You have to give the man credit for it. You know, the videos of him practice it in the back before the fight and stuff is like, fuck, you know, like he knew exactly what he was trying to do. So, like, you know, mad props to him for doing it. But, yeah, I mean, that fight could have been very, very different. I felt like him going up against Maia after that was terrible.
It was the worst possible matchup. I don't know. I can't speak for who influenced the matchup, but me and you had a call about it about a week before that, and I was like, bro, this is the worst matchup that could possibly take place.
Terrible. You know, and they could have. I mean, to be fair, I think that welterweight division is so stacked wrestling wise. You know, you look at Usman, you look at Kobe, you look at Woodley. You know, you've got some real elite wrestlers in there. So, you know, Askren going up against any of them, it wouldn't really make as much sense. But, you know, I think trying to him against Wonderboy, you know, people would have watched that, and Askren would have had a huge advantage. Wonderboy could have finished him, no doubt. But
I just see Askren really struggling against. He obviously wouldn't fight Woodley, but he'd struggle against Colby. He'd struggle against Usman, I think, because they're more complete. They'll defend.
No, 100%. Yeah, they're good enough wrestlers that they could have, you know, stood them up a little bit more. Whereas, you know, I mean, who the fuck wants to? If you're a wrestler, you know, if I'm a wrestler and you are a fucking 7-time jiu-jitsu black belt, like I don't want any part of that. I know I'm going to be on the ground with you. You know what I mean? I know I'm going to like. You know, I'm pretty much putting my neck out on the line with somebody who can choke me out at any point at any stage. Like it made no sense. Like
I tell you, that is incredibly underrated that people should go back and watch. I've two for you. One I mentioned the other week, Dan Henderson versus Michael Bisping 2 in Manchester. But one of Damian Maia's, it's a grappler's delight, is Damian Maia versus Ed Herman.
Yeah, it's a great, yeah.
Oh my God, what a fight that is! What a fight that is! Any Tim Elliott fight either is another grappler's delight. Any Tim Elliott fight,
yeah,
it's incredible. Yeah, if you're into your grappling, check out Damian Maia and Ed Herman. That's an absolute. I suppose you can't really say war about a grappling fight, but it's just incredible. It's a beautiful show to watch. So yeah.
Man, can you remember Frank Mir and like remember who was a big nog that he popped the shoulder out?
Oh yes. Yeah, I remember watching that live, and when the shoulder went, the feeling I got in my stomach, I was like, I thought I was gonna puke. Yeah, I thought I was genuinely gonna puke.
Oh, even when you watch it back, it's like, oh, it's so bad. Yeah, I'm trying to think. What happened to fucking Fabricio Verdun?
He's back. He's coming back soon. He got popped by USADA for something, and now he's back. I'm not sure if it was.
Well, the question was more. He lost to. He was a fucking heavyweight champion. After submitting Kane, and then
I think he's like 41 now. 41 now. So when he does come back, but he is coming back definitely, because I think he got a 2-year ban, but that was obviously about 2 years ago. But he was due to return. I think they booked him versus your man Volkov. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I'm almost certain that I read that he was booked against Volkov.
Speaking of that, Volkov has just beaten Greg Hardy.
42, sorry. Fabricio Verdun was 42.
Yeah, makes sense.
Well, yeah, he is booked. Sorry, he is booked for UFC 250. That's obviously the same card as Cruz and Cejudo against your man Alexei Olenek, who's ranked fairly high at the moment as well. So, yeah, the last time, sorry, that I just got them confused. The last time Verdun fought was in London, and Volkov KO'd him. Remember that?
Yeah.
It's a nasty guy.
Yeah, now that you mention it. Yeah, so just thinking about this card that's obviously been cancelled, but Greg Hardy ahead of Francis Ngannou, like he was the co-main. What? I don't understand Dana's obsession with the guy, because he's not a big. He's a name.
I wouldn't necessarily say Dana, but there's someone in the UFC's brass has got a hard on for Greg Hardy.
That's what I mean. Like who? I don't understand. Like he comes with everyone knows he's a piece of shit. Like he's a woman beater. Like
I think it's just he will sell because he's got the NFL history. That's it. He's got a more direct path to being a star than most up and coming fighters with a similar record to him in the UFC.
Yeah, I mean,
I think that's why he's getting a push. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I think that's why he's getting a push.
But is he bringing that many viewers over? Do you know what I mean? Was Greg?
No, but I think it's as he climbs the ranks, people are like, "Oh yeah, that's your man. That was a woman beater.
Yeah.
Let's tune in and see if he loses." People want to see him lose, much like people want to see Floyd Mayweather lose. Let's not forget Floyd Mayweather's done time for beating women.
Yeah.
So is Mike Tyson. Sorry for Mike Tyson for raping women. A lot of people would have tuned into their later fights to hope to see them lose. And
yeah.
In Mike Tyson's case, they did.
It's really fucked up. Like you think the way you make a stand against those sorts of people is just to not buy it, not watch it. Don't make sure they don't get the publicity, and then they end up becoming more famous because of it. It's weird. Anyway, yeah. So, fuck, man. What are we going to talk about next week?
Well, I mean, based on recent history, we're going to have plenty to talk about. Dana White's sex tapes, John Jones getting caught doing drugs again. More fights being rescheduled, more fights being cancelled. Like there's a bit of everything going on in the UFC, in the MMA world these days. It's kind of like following a soap, like people talk about the soap operas. It's kind of
like you should see. And like over the last year or so, when I was like, I wasn't missing a single fight on a fight card. You know what I mean? Like this. I started, kind of getting more and more into, Twitter MMA and shit like that. And obviously we've just created the Transatlantic MMA. Give us a follow, please, people.
Yeah, like and subscribe, please.
Prior to that, I was following a lot of people, some really good content, like Mac Malley, who's kind of one of the original ones. He's got like 25,000 followers.
Yeah, he's great. He's
hilarious. Like,
is he Irish? Looks blue.
No, I don't think so. I'm pretty sure he's American.
Okay.
But yeah, so started following him. He started reaching.
We'll claim him anyway.
But yeah, he's like, he fucking loves violence. He loves beef jerky and fat sandwiches. It's like, what's not to love,
Yeah.
And drinking beer. He's got a ton of people follow him that are kind of into MMA, and started following them. Started getting that was pretty much all I saw was.
There's a similar community on Instagram, I think, So hopefully it works, and we can kind of get connected and embed ourselves in the little MMA obsessed community. It's a good one. I'm not going anywhere anyway. I've been a fan for a long time, so
I think it's I don't think it's that small anymore though, bro. There's like thousands and thousands of
But
accounts.
I mean people that are kind of avid, active users of social media in the MMA.
Yeah.
I get all my news from other people's pages on Instagram, usually not even the direct news source. But bro, listen, we just went for 50 minutes. That's it. So this is pretty much what we're trying to crank out once a week, give or take. And I went 50 minutes without abusing you fat hairy cunt.
Speak for yourself.
Can
you shake your arms for me? Will you shake those little chicken wings?
These arms.
You get some. Yeah, get the flab flopping there. Go on.
Don't know what you're talking about, mate.
Just another area for you to lose weight, and you fat cunt.
Yeah, I got a few of them. I got some intermittent fasting to do. But yeah, look at anyone that's checked out this video, anyone that's lasted this long, you are an MMA fan, so very welcome to the channel. Good to have you here. Anyone that hasn't and pursued to listen to the end of this video anyway, that doesn't know about MMA, then fair fucking play to you. So respect. But yeah, if any likes, shares, hit us up at Transatlantic MMA on Instagram, Atlantic MMA on Twitter, I believe, right? And hit subscribe. I believe it'll probably be down below this video, or maybe up here. I'm not sure. Very not used to YouTube yet, but yeah. Hopefully we get a couple of regular listeners, and any feedback, greatly appreciated. Drop us a text or something. But, yeah, if you have any parting words, Mr. Vorster.
Not at all. Just lock our shit, mate.
To the very few people that will listen to this, stay safe, stay home, and we will chat to you next week.
All right, peace.
Cheers, guys.